Hi everybody, welcome to our panel, The Democratisation of Music Publishing, Breaking Down the Barriers to Entry. I've been working with the emerging music markets for some time now, and I've noticed that there are some common themes in many parts of the world, challenges with education, with legal issues. Can you mute please? Sorry, we're plagued with these Zoom issues today. Arya man, can you zoom? Can you mute please? Sorry. So anyway, so today we're trying to talk about these issues that are affecting everybody. And I'm really happy that we've managed to assemble such a lovely group of panelists. So without further ado, and with hopefully no more technical issues, I'd like to start by introducing everyone. Habib, you're the first I see. Would you like to start by telling everyone who you are and what you're doing? You're muted.
Well, now you should be able to hear me. So I'm Habib Achour. I live in Paris. I work for SACEM, the collective management organization, where I am head of Africa and the Middle East. So I work closely with what we might call emerging markets. And I've been doing so in different fields of the ecosystem of the music business. As a booking agent before, I used to represent Arab artists around the world, but also as a concert promoter. I used to be an A&R and programmer for festivals in Morocco, in Tunisia, in France, and Lebanon. So I've been very close to the musicians since many years, as I started more than 20 years ago working for EMEA. In France, but promoting world music and jazz. So that's it.
Thank you. Oh, am I muted? No, thank you very much. Ritnika, would you like to go next? Say a little bit about yourself, please.
Sure. So yeah, I own a music company in India called Music Gets Me High that basically manages artists, artist bookings, music festivals, music education. I'm also the country head for CD Baby, and I also assist with various downtown music companies as and when needed in India. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Akinyemi, you're next in my eyesight here. Hi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Akinyemi Ayinoluwa. I live and work in Lagos, Nigeria. I am a music lawyer, and I'm also the co-founder of a law firm in Lagos, Nigeria called Hightower, Solicitors and Advocates. And a huge percent of my law practice is heavily focused on the music industry. We represent a lot of the most important songwriters and record producers in Lagos, Nigeria. Actually, I like to say we represent the most important songwriters in Nigeria. And I'm happy that we are enjoying global attention at this time. Afrobeats is the new darling of the world. Everyone is looking in our direction. Spotify just launched. A lot of, I think Tuco also is very present now. And a lot of investment is flowing in the direction of Nigeria. Beyond this, the reason why I practice music law is because I used to be an entertainer myself, and I'm quite passionate about what I do. I've been doing this for about 11 years. And I'm happy, I have a relationship with Songtrust, and I'm also a music advocate where we champion the interest of creators of music. And I'm happy to be on this panel. I look forward to the deliberations for today.
We're really happy to have you and everyone else here, guests as well. Eros, you're next. Hello, thanks for coming. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Eros Qerimi, live and work in Pristina in Kosovo. It's a really new country. Onima is a company I'm representing today. It is the biggest or the largest publishing house in the region. I am the global licensing, music licensing and royalties director of the company. And also been working with music festivals in the past, and quite a good reason for me to continue working on music industry.
Thank you, thank you. So there's a number of subjects that we want to cover today, but I'm just going to pick one because any order is going to be the right order, I think. So let's talk about the value of a functional CMO. So this is coming to you first, Habib. What value can an institution like SACEM offer to some countries like, well, many within your remit? Are you working to try to improve the CMOs in those territories where perhaps there has never been one, or there is one but it doesn't operate functionally?
Yes, for instance, yes. The first value, the core values of the CMOs are first the respect of intellectual property. But how? This is the question. How do we do that efficiently? So there are three main parts that are collecting the rights, and then identifying the works. So there's a huge necessary documentary tool that we need to have and to be able to manage, and then to distribute the rights and to distribute fairly to the right holders. So this the needs today are really high to be able to do these three parts in a transparent way and to show the right holders who are our members, but also the members of other societies we may represent in some regions of the world, like the Middle East or Africa. When we represent Brazilian authors, composers, they are our members all around the world. So they need to be fairly compensated by the use of their music. This is the core value of a CMO. So in many countries, this doesn't function. These CMOs are not efficient, or in other countries, there is actually no CMO. So we are trying to create, to understand first, to have a kind of global state of affair about this business. Where are the rights respected? Where is intellectual property respected? And also, and mainly, where it's not respected. So first we have to look at the law, at the legal system, at the legal framework. And we have to tackle the problem at source. When there's no CMO, no law, the first thing is to convince the authorities of the countries to improve their law regarding intellectual property. So how to convince them? This is a kind of a cultural diplomacy work we do. We use our diplomacy, the French diplomacy, but also all diplomacies who want to improve, because everybody's interested in this field, in having their rights respected. So our publishers, for instance, are publishers from all around the world, member of SACEM, and if they want to invest in some countries, they want a return on investment. If there is no a law regarding intellectual property, they will not get the investment back. They will not, this investment will not be useful. So they will not invest in some artists in some countries. So we are trying to explain that these countries must be more attractive for the cultural and creative industries, for the audiovisual business, for the film also industry. And this is how they start thinking. Most of the countries have understood that culture and creative industries, and specifically music, is not the cherry on the cake anymore. It's really something serious. It's serious in terms of impact, economical impact, in terms of jobs, in terms of attractivity and image for the country. So all this leads them to think, how can we organize this? How can we create a regulatory system that will allow us to help the musicians and the content creators. So the authorities think politically about the image and also about the content and how to improve the economy of creativity. So this is where we try to be, where there's no rule, when there's no law. In some countries, we are doing this effort to make them understand that position first. Why copyright? Why authors' rights? Because if you don't educate them and explain why it exists, people will never understand the basic things of it and will not understand why they should pay when music is broadcast or when music is streamed online.
Yeah, well, there'll be no future, obviously, if people can't be remunerated. But it's interesting because with all three of your co-panelists, I think there's a totally different situation with the performing rights organizations or the collective management organizations. And I want to briefly touch on some of the experiences of all of you. We can decide who goes first. Like Eros, in your situation, you have a newer country, and you are probably doing a lot of what Habib just talked about. Ritnika, you have a PRO that has come and gone in terms of being accepted by the official authorities. And I think COSON in Nigeria is just one of many collection societies, perhaps, who have gotten a bit of a bad name for themselves for not being so fair for the writers, if I don't misquote. So let's begin with you, Eros. Do you want to talk a bit about what you're doing in terms of trying to change the way things are in your country, and what you're starting from when there is no history of such an organization that goes far back?
There are actually two inactive organizations in Kosovo which are only registered, but they do not work. And for us, in order to create one, we are strongly collaborating with the Ministry of Culture of Kosovo, which is our only gateway into the government and into trying to add some new laws from the government, which would really impact for good. And in order to keep the music industry alive until then, to be honest, we are really becoming a fair and a transparent company with the artists. And the only way that we have found until now, before the law is approved, is to work with an American business model. The artists and the company do have special agreements with this, and everything is fair and transparent. Especially when we start affiliating the artists with different PROs, and we trust Songtrust to administer it, and it has been quite important, and it has been quite good for us as a company, especially this sort of collaboration.
So you're having to work slightly outside of the systems that are perhaps already in place still within your territory. But obviously the optimum is that the domestic territory is, managing its own writers successfully, and that they are, there's reciprocity, if that's what, between, all the different countries, So let's just say in Ghana, the royalties are flowing to France and back again, and everyone can be successfully remunerated. Thanks, Eros. Ritnika, would you like to talk now a bit about India? Just as a quick aside, yesterday I spoke to one of our clients in India, and he is an IPRS member, and he said that he's starting to be paid over the last year. He's starting to receive money as a publisher client or whatever of the IPRS. So that was very promising, given the history and of course how much the music is globally active. So what's your experience? Is there a change, and why was it so bad for so long?
Well, so I mean, we've always had IPRS, but apparently they weren't like a registered society or something or the other. And then they lost their charter, and then they've sort of revamped themselves the last 2-3 years. So they are trying their best, but the problem is a couple of things. Firstly, lack of education. Most artists don't understand what publishing is. They don't understand that because they've never had to deal with that. So that's already one big issue. But the second issue is, and this was something that I was just discussing with a lawyer friend, that in India, they don't collect publishing royalty from live shows. I mean, every venue has the IPRS license, but the concept of collecting set lists doesn't exist. So that's one problem. Radio, even though they're supposed to collect, most radio stations don't, because there was some court ruling or some court case that overturned the ruling and set a precedent. So there's no money coming from radio. So basically, the only publishing they're probably getting right now is from the streaming aspect. The other issue she mentioned, which is very interesting, is that from IPRS, you can only collect the artist's half of your publishing income. Even if you're self-published, you can't collect the other half. And the only way to do that is if you set up a publishing company, which obviously most independent artists are not going to do. So you end up still losing some of your income if you are an independent artist who's self-published. So it's just like, it's working, but it's not working the way it should be working.
Are you saying that a writer, like in other parts of the world, there's, let's say on performance, simply put, there's the writer's share of performance that's collectible and the publisher's collectible share, and it's 50-50. Are you saying that with the IPRS, it's they do not recognize that there is a writer share and that 100% of all royalties, say on the performance and mechanical, goes to the publisher, or what do you mean?
No, so they recognize they will pay an artist their writer share, but they will not pay the publisher share even if they are self-published.
Okay.
So the only way to do that is to set up a publishing company as an artist, which obviously an artist cannot do.
Okay, so that's interesting. Akinyemi, what about you? What's happening in Nigeria? What's your experience? Oh, you're muted, sorry, Akinyemi.
So yes, I think the reality in Nigeria, with respect to the collecting society, we actually have like two. We have the MCSN and then we have COSON. And the last decade, in the last couple of years, like 6 years, COSON has been at the forefront of, championing the rights of creators of music and rights holders. And they've done a fantastic job of trying to educate the public and to draw attention to the importance of music as a vehicle for wealth creation and as an important resource. Sadly, the environment still needs a lot of work because we have a lot of music players who don't really value the importance of music. We have restaurants, television and radio stations who are yet to really, really acknowledge the importance of music. So like Nikita mentioned, like Ritnika mentioned, I'm sorry about that. Like she mentioned, it's a tall order drawing them to the table to make them understand that they need to pay every time music is being exploited on radio, on TV. You need to make some kind of payment to the owners of the compositions you're exploiting. And COSON has tried, always instituting legal action, drawing them to the courtroom, and then sometimes they come around, they settle, they make promises, they sign undertakings and contracts that they would start to pay. But what you find is after they settle, they go back to the former status quo, and then COSON has to relitigate their claims. So, but on the whole, I think we're not where we used to be like 6-7 years ago. The awareness is starting to percolate. People are starting to understand the concepts to the point that even a lot of creators of music are starting to understand how important their compositions are, how important the music catalog is, and how that can actually help, compensate them for the resources they commit to creating this work, these musical works. But in my practice as a music lawyer, sadly, because of the contention and also the questions of transparency, I find that I have been affiliating most of my clients with collecting societies outside of Nigeria. And, anytime we draw the attention of COSON to the challenges some of our clients have, when we say, oh, the transparency is a problem, and, anytime we lay those complaints, they reassure us that they are trying to deploy the best practices and to have technology help solve the problem so that the consumption of music is properly tracked, and then those who get compensated are compensated based on the formula that works. Because what we find is that there is just that blanket distribution of collection. The distribution is not based on the significance of the exploitation, or there's just that distribution that doesn't really follow any specific formula. Because it would be a lot better if there was a system in place, maybe by using tech, where you could really tell that, okay, as a result of having 1 million spins on radio and on TV, this is what you're entitled to. But sadly, we don't have that system in place yet with COSON. And that is why a lot of creators are looking on to other collecting societies outside of Nigeria. But I believe that, I still believe that there's a lot of work to be done. And in a couple of years, the collecting societies in Nigeria will be able to really tackle some of these challenges.
Yeah, thanks, Akinyemi. You know, I mean, as long as there's no money going in and out from COSON, for example, or from Gamro in Ghana, or any of the other places in the world where there's a difficult situation with their local PRO, I wonder, and I open this up to all the panelists for their opinion. Personally, I would advocate that any writer who is unaffiliated to any performing rights organization, well, obviously they need to be affiliated, because for all the good work that companies like Songtrust is doing in terms of globally registering everywhere, it is generating the writer's share of royalties as well. And we want to be sure that the writers can access. But I would access those royalties. But I would be an advocate of, if you're in Nigeria, become an affiliate of COSON or the other Nigerian PRO for Nigeria only, and then affiliate with SACEM or IMRO through Songtrust or another PRO to obtain the corresponding writer's share for the rest of the world. In my opinion, and you panelists will hopefully correct me if I'm wrong, there's nothing to lose from that, because the money on the writer's side in their home country is not yet being generated. But on the other hand, I feel that if writers affiliate to their own collection society, if there is one, they can then perhaps say, hey, COSON, let's say, or hey, IPRS or whomever, I'm getting this much money from all around the rest of the world, yet I am really huge in Nigeria, Ghana, or wherever, but I'm not getting any money from you. And then they can start to form more of a strength in numbers through their lobbying and through everything that Habib kind of began by explaining to us about how change has to come from the highest level. In the same way that, Ritnika, you're facing in India the situation where you're telling me that there are laws that have been going on for years that mean that there is no money from XYZ income sources that in the rest of the world would be intolerable. So again, that can change perhaps with new laws, although I know they're hard to pass. So please just fight away. Whoever speaks first can start, and maybe that's something we can discuss before going on to the next topic and leaving these poor collection societies alone.
I mean, I'm just going to jump right in and say I absolutely agree. I think as artists, everybody needs to be signed to some kind of a collection society or whatever. And this is what I tell artists in India: if you want to be with IPRS, great. And then for the rest of the world, sign up with Songtrust. Or if you still don't trust IPRS right now, just stick with Songtrust.
No, but it's more than just Songtrust. I'm sorry to butt in, but I really have to. Well, another collection society.
Yeah.
Songtrust does not collect the writer's share of royalties.
Yes.
So,
I meant through Songtrust to IMRO or someplace.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I don't say it to Chris, just to be sure that everyone understands and you know. Yeah,
exactly.
Good. Well, I think that's it. It's good.
Maybe I would add that this is, can you hear me? Yeah?
Yes.
Yes, it's really important. Affiliating is key, as you said, Mandy. It's really key. All creators, composers, writers, lyricists, songwriters have to be affiliated to a CMO. It's really, really important for them to understand their right first, and them to spread the word, to explain how it works, and to say, I'm a composer, this has value. And this is how finally getting together, they can explain, and they can be followed by a lawyer, by Akinyemi, to have actions against or with their local collection society. It's really important that they understand that it can work well, so that there's they're not always disappointed or disillusioned about this system, because that's what they are in most countries in Africa. Some musicians are really don't trust. There's a lack of trust of this system. So when they come to SACEM or to PRS or to ASCAP, whatever, and understand that it can work, and we haven't spoken about the online rights yet, but that are so important for them to understand and to be able to analyze and define a strategy to develop, because they know where their music is streamed. So we're doing that. And at the same time, we're trying to strengthen the local societies, because nobody will collect the rights in India instead of IPRS, or in Nigeria instead of Kosovo. It's totally impossible, but it has to be understood, and then authorities and the creators, members, and musicians have to be educated to be able to say, well, I know I have my rights as a producer sometimes, if they're their own producer, or as a performer, but these rights that are coming from the master side is not the same as the publishing side, and we spend our time at SACEM explaining the difference between both. And this is very important for us, because also, thanks to CD Baby, for instance, more and more artists have their music available online. So they need to know how it works, because it's very easy to be available and to be international immediately. But what does it mean in terms of rights? This has to be explained.
Definitely. How do you work with your unaffiliated writers? Are you just telling them to, do you prefer right now to completely leave your home society from having people affiliate when they're unaffiliated, or are you trying to, do you advocate that they become affiliated, for at least your home country?
Mandy, you cut off right in the beginning. Who were you addressing?
Eros.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
The question is for Eros, yeah.
I don't know if Eros even heard me. Can you hear me now? I don't know what's wrong with my sound today.
Yeah, right now, yeah.
Yeah, so I was just asking what do you do? Because obviously a lot of people in your country aren't affiliated. What do you advocate, for them?
To be honest, COVID-19 had a really positive side in Balkans, and these new countries, new emerging countries into the market. Every artist, like 100% of the artists, were not earning anything from the concerts, because concerts and gigs are like their only payment that they get, because they never knew about the real streaming power. During the pandemic, all the artists showed upon huge interest into becoming affiliated, into starting to see about their royalties. They started to understand what a black box is and how a black box works, because none of them were even interested into collecting anything that they already own. So this was a really rapid uptake of interest in the digital infrastructure. After all, it is the content that makes that digital environment compelling, and not really the boxes, however well they are designed, or how is the infrastructure that they can claim. But before the pandemic, they were thinking that they are Steve Jobs, but they were only looking on blank iPads. So
yeah, well, that comes to, of course, education, and people, everyone around the world has had to stop for all sorts of reasons, no matter what aspect of life has been presented to them throughout the last year in particular. So that will lead us to the culture of education as to what rights are, and of course the confusion between you know, what are the artist royalties and what's that corresponding royalty in the composition, the publishing? Ah, I see. So Akinyemi, I'll come to you because I think that actually education is something that you have to present non-stop with your client base, and also the culture that you're around is that is it that there are people who you come across who are constantly trying to perhaps take advantage of the limitations in the understanding about publishing of your client base to say, come and take this $20,000 advance, and you know, when you know that perhaps there could be 220,000 if they're just, you know, patient. How do you even manage with the job that you have to educate people all the time?
Well, that is an amazing question, Mandy. Thanks for that question. Because what I find, I've been doing, like, I stumbled on the idea of music publishing about 7 years ago, and it came to me. I've been a music lawyer for like 10, 11 years, and at the music conference, when the panelist was talking about this, it came to me very, very fresh. Although with each passing day, I was studying about the music industry and the business and the different business models or the value chain of the music business. And I, in passing, heard about that. But because of Nigeria, there weren't a lot of activity in that space. We only knew about the record companies. At the time, nobody was talking about a music publishing company. So the concept of music publishing or the business of music publishing was like, it was seen as an afterthought. Everyone was usually looking for the record deal. No one was looking for a music publishing deal. So that led me to, you know, really, really doing a lot of research to understand the value of compositions and, you know, understanding that compositions or songs are a lot different from master recording or sound recording, and that these are different copyrights that would give rise to different streams of income and different types of royalties. And what you find is, even as a music lawyer, I had to do a lot of work to fully grasp the concept. So it is not strange that creators of music, who are supposed to be, you know, masters of, you know, creating music, writing music, it is not strange that most of them are ignorant about how important the work they do is. And most of them, without proper guidance, advice, or education, would gladly sell off their interest in what they create. And there's been so many examples where even some of the biggest stars in Nigeria assign their interest in what they create for as little as $50,000, $20,000. Even there is a talent we represent. Like 2 years ago, it was being offered like $50,000, and it was being enticed. It needed that money at the time, but thankfully, as lawyers, we pointed out the fact that it is best that you even know the strength of a music catalog, try to see what you can do on your own. And thankfully, we have a relationship with Songtrust where we know that we can effectively administer by ourselves. Let's administer by ourselves. Let's see what your catalog is doing before we commit to any type of publishing relationship with any of the majors or the independent music publishing companies. And I am glad that this client listened, because from 2 years ago till now, his catalog has done maybe almost $70,000. And the fair share, like a huge chunk of that money, has gone to him directly. And the money has really helped him sustain himself, reinvest in his craft, and he's been developing as a talent. So yes, there is a problem that the majority of creators of music in Nigeria, they do not know the value of what they do. And I have like Personally, I have a consulting company, apart from the law firm that I co-own. We are really, really championing, you know, spreading this message, amplifying it so that they can bind it into the do-it-yourself idea. As talents, you can also be entrepreneurial. You can also grab your destiny and take on the journey by yourself with proper education, with proper people on your team, legal support. You can, you know, build up yourself to a certain point where you're in control. And then if you'll be going into a relationship with a major, maybe Warner, Universal, or any of the big independent music publishing companies, you will be well prepared to go into that relationship and not surrender your leverage and your ownership totally. So yes, we still do a lot of publishing deals where some of our clients, they really, really want that big advance. But yes, we're able to advise, let them know what the options are, doing it yourself or going with the majors. This is what your options are.
Yeah, thank you. That was so brilliantly put, and I think it applies for everyone here, the way you said it. One thing that comes to mind is the importance of having some sort of legal framework in place for any writers. And it's not always about necessarily hiring an expensive or a non-expensive lawyer. It's as simple as promoting a document like a split sheet or something where people are signing something that says you own this much of the composition and you own the other. I'm just wondering if any of the panelists here have experiences of perhaps, well, on the, you know, like a bit of a bullyish mentality between, say, the artist and the writers, who, like producers in particular, who are integral to the writing of the composition, but are perhaps lacking the tools and the experience and perhaps the confidence to go in and say, hey, let's get this document signed. And if there's a way around that to make the change, because as a publisher, Habib might know this as SACEM, trying to, let's say there's a counterclaim and you know, me and Habib wrote a song together and I had the split sheet signed, you know, that said I officially wrote it and Habib didn't. I think SACEM would pay me 100%. What can we do to try to help that situation? Especially keeping in mind perhaps the limitation of financial of finance that there is to fund a lawyer to do these jobs for people. I open that up to anyone who wants to answer me.
Well,
all right, go ahead, Habib.
No, I just think that there's a need of for instance, what we do in a very small and very particular country, that is Palestine. Palestine is, for many musicians, and music is so important there, and it has always been, and there are so many good music coming from Palestine. But for them to travel, to go on tour is almost impossible. So what we try to do is to find a way to create what we call a Palestinian music office. And this Palestinian music office is a kind of ensemble of different activities that goes from training, and I don't speak about training music, but training the music business and how it works. So there are mentors coming from all the world and mentorees who want to become, as you, Akinyemi, a music lawyer. And so they come to this Palestine Music Office. They would come. It's not created yet, but this is what we try to do, to create or to participate to the creation of organization. And of course, this is a cost. So sometimes we take a part of this cost, but most of our job is to find some state monies that can be from Norway, from Germany, from France, from the UK, to finance this. So to find the right reason to convince them to put their money for development in that kind of structures. And this helps a lot to explain and to educate about how it works, and some details for some musicians that are not details. What's the difference between publishing and master rights, for instance? This is very important. And this all started with a festival called PMX, Palestine Music Expo, that was also a music market created by an English businessman who owns a label called Cooking Vinyl. He's Martin Goldschmidt. And Martin created this festival really in order to invite the professionals from the world to go to Palestine and Ramallah, listen to their music, whatever the genre is. It can be rap music, traditional music, or techno music. And then they came, and it started becoming, after 3 years, something so important that we wanted to develop this. And thanks to the cultural action, cultural aid funds from SACEM, and this has to be said also, some of the collections goes to social fund or cultural fund. And this cultural fund can go to that direction of creating education, awareness about our business. And this education is important through an office where it's easy to go with open doors. Anybody can go, whatever the level. You don't need to be a professional. You can just go there and ask questions. And it's also online. So yeah, that's what we can do to fix this situation.
That's great. And Ritnika, you were going to mention something.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to add, like, education is definitely the most important thing. And from my end, my company, along with CD Baby, I mean, our main focus is to educate artists as much as possible, whether it's in distribution, whether it's publishing. I mean, you know, without that, there's no way to kind of move ahead. The problem in India is that I can educate the independent artists, and, you know, that's easier in a way. But we also have this big bad industry, or big good industry, called Bollywood. And Bollywood doesn't follow any laws of the land. You know, the concept of songwriters owning anything it doesn't arise. Everything is owned by the filmmakers. And even though they passed a new law which said that you can't, you know, sign away your publishing rights and all of that, how much of it does really happen? We don't know. So there's only, in India, we can't evolve or change on a larger scale till Bollywood industry as a whole changes, which I don't see that happening. So we can only focus on the independent artists, and that's about it. And that's what we're doing, basically.
Yeah. Well, some great publisher clients that I'm working with are from India, and they're being very successful, and they're working outside of the Bollywood model or system. So perhaps as they start to have access as well, this will be they'll send ripples through the community, and the situation will improve. Now, again, coming back to Akinyemi, we had a chat, all of us, before the panel a week ago, and you coined this phrase, trust deficit, and it conjures up so many wonderful discussion points, which I'd like to just sort of pick on some of them before we open this up to questions from the floor. So what did you mean by that, Akinyemi? Trust deficit. Who has the trust deficit?
Yeah, so I'm thinking, like, if you're Nigerian and you're living in Lagos, you always have your guard up like this, trying to defend yourself, even when no one is attacking you. You're thinking someone is out to, attack you or take advantage of you. So, and I think it's been the case because a lot of people have experienced many things growing up, or even in the music industry, where their first experience from interfacing or interacting with the music industry, or growing up as a youngster or as a teenager, their first experience was that they were taken advantage of. So I think the trauma stays with them even till when they are, anything they do in the music industry, they're always gathered like this. They're always protecting themselves, even when no one is in sight trying to attack them. So that is it underscores the fact that people are not given to trust easily because they've experienced something already. So myself, when you meet like a B-list or A-list artist and you're trying to proposition him to the good things you're doing, he is always going to be on the defensive. Like, are you trying to take advantage of me? I'm not sure I can trust you. But here is the cracker. Here is how to win them over. You win them over with results and with testimonies of what you've done. So if they get testimonies from their colleagues, it is best. That's the best kind of sell, where one of them is telling them, oh, Mr. Akinyemi and his law firm, they were able to get thousands of dollars for me over a course of period. This is what they did. This is my statement. And then they allow you to now proposition to them, this is what you can do. That is on one side. The other side is when you're teaching, because I'm like a music advocate. I do a lot of television and radio appearances, you know, trying to espouse the importance of music and how, you know, effectively exploiting music or administering your rights in music can be a tool for wealth creation. So when you are teaching all of these things, what you find again is that there is just that there are so many hoops you still have to cross by a way of teaching that I want your best interest at heart. I want you to understand these things yourself. I want you to visit these websites, watch this music, watch these videos on YouTube so you can have a better understanding. Even at that, what I find is a lot of people are already so traumatized by their past experiences, and there is just that huge trust deficit in place that you just have to try to bridge before they allow you to even help them.
Yeah, you have to be.
So that's what I meant.
Thank you. So Habib, like your normal world before pre-pandemic was to vent.
We can't hear you, Mandy.
Oh, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Please tell me you can hear me. Can you
The
hear
volume
me?
is low. I can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Hello. No,
Better.
hang on.
Yeah.
Better. That's
It's
better.
Sorry.
now.
I don't know what the issue is today, but I was saying, Habib, your world pre-pandemic was to go to lots of far-reaching countries in the world and to approach the trust deficit face-to-face at the highest levels in some countries. That I think, if you don't mind, it would be nice to hear an anecdote, perhaps, of what lengths you have had to go to historically in order to improve the trust deficit in certain countries, and how the pandemic has possibly put some of your negotiations a little bit behind over the last year, having not been able to be there physically for people.
Yes, well, the pandemic is only 1 year ago, so it's very difficult for me to analyze the situation since. I'll be able to do it when in a few months maybe, or when things go back to normal. The situation, for instance, about this lack of trust deficit, the trust deficit, it's a very interesting concept. For instance, in Egypt, there's a society, and as you know, Egypt is the biggest Arab country and the most important in terms of music production. And it has been a very important country since the 50s in Kulthum. And there's a model for Egyptian music and Egyptian. There's a kind of a small Bollywood in Cairo too. This where you speak to the people who rule there, who govern that collecting society, they say that all musicians should register, and it's fantastic because automatically. When they register to this society, they become SACEM members to an agreement that is dated in the 70s or 60s, a very long time ago. But at the same time, if you speak to musicians in Cairo, they will tell you that they could not register to Sasero. Why? Because there are hip-hop artists or maybe protest singers. And actually we realized that sometimes in some countries, the collecting societies are quite close to the power, and artists cannot do what they want with these collecting societies. So this is what we try to do, to ask them and to tell them that music has no border, and that any artist playing whatever music can register to collecting societies. It's not destinated to only pop singers or music stars from anywhere. It's really destinated to any musician, from contemporary music to even DJs who can register their set list at SSM, for instance, today. Yeah, that's very complicated to go beyond the a priori that there is about this model of collective management.
Yeah, yeah. Eros, just on the last thing, do you have anything you'd like to add regarding the trust deficit, perhaps from, in your country, or how you're dealing with that? Do you find that you constantly have to go back and say the same things in order to get people to choose your way?
Is it for me?
No, for Eros. I don't know.
Oh.
I always say his name, but no one hears it. It's like it's a Voldemort or something.
Like super low right now as well. I can't hear.
Oh, did you hear what I was saying? Is what is the situation in Kosovo with the trust deficit? Do you find that you're always having to repeat yourself? That's ironic. Always having to repeat yourself in terms
Mandy, we can't hear you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, hang on.
Basically, she just wants to know about trust deficit in your situation, and do you have to keep repeating it to people like she has to?
Yeah, of course. Like I would say probably like 17 to 25 times a day to every artist, because it's like I mean, these type of artists, they don't really know how this goes on, and the real problem is not that they don't know. The real problem is that they don't want to learn, and they just don't want to listen. So I keep also telling them that this thing is not only good for them, but it's also good for the country, and it's also good for their PR and their marketing. Because like I've seen different initiatives, and I've seen like how, for example, taking into account Brazil, which today has a very like vibrant and diversified recording industry. Uh, there, I don't know exactly, but there has been like a study on how many people have visited Brazil because of the song "The Boy from Ipanema," and that's like a huge number of tourists going there. And when you register a song, when you register yourself as a songwriter, you keep helping yourself, you keep helping your fans, and you keep helping everyone, because it's like a win-win situation for you and for the music industry.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me? I will go and come back, and Niall, you can take the questions. I don't think anyone can hear me. I'll come back.
I think you're back now.
Can you hear me now? Oh, phew.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I don't know. Well, we have enough Zoom calls that we can handle this. So thank you, Eros. So, well, I think it would be the right time now, perhaps, to look at any questions that anyone in the audience has. And please don't be shy. I mean, we want, your experiences are really valuable to us as well. And we've only just covered some of the countries that are facing similar challenges today. So, Niall, did you notice any questions that anyone should answer, or
There was a bunch of questions coming through, but I think Ritnika was on point, answering a lot of them.
The two. I think there are about two questions that were not aimed directly at me. So I just by Morgan, and the one with so maybe you can ask that, as well as PRS for music question. I think those two were the ones that were not answered yet.
Yeah, Morgan, do you want to go ahead and shout out your question to the panel?
Yeah. So I kind of landed into this as well, to all of your guys' point. During COVID, I was a booking agent and needed to find my artists some money. So I went on a mission to find all this unclaimed stuff, and now I'm actually in publishing. But I'm originally from South Africa, and obviously everybody took to virtual shows, and a lot of my artists were so grateful because we got to do all these little corporate closed events. But we started getting phone calls from Capasso going, well, how are you guys paying the blanket licenses for this? And how are we paying for these? And I asked Capasso, well, how much should we charge? And how are you guys policing this? And I don't believe the rule book on that has yet been written. Live gigs or virtual shows are probably going to be around for a much longer time than we anticipated. So at the time of my question, Capasso had said it would be around R2.90 per viewer. But that was, I don't know what logic that was based on, number one. And number two, how would they ever know? Who is policing it? Who is monitoring that Heineken is having a closed corporate function for 200 staff members? So I just wondered if there was a way that publishers or CMOs are monitoring this in this new age of virtual closed events.
Yeah, well, I mean, can you all hear me? Yeah. I think it's still very much in debate, and there are some collection societies who are already on top of it and are making a new infrastructure to ensure that there's the remuneration, but it's evident that many will be far behind. Habib, without putting you too much on the spot as you know, representative of SACEM, do you have any insight as to how this is being dealt with?
Yes, well, yeah, we decided to remunerate the live streams before earning anything from the promoter of this concert. This was not a lot, but it was something like 60 euros per live stream going to the creators. So the publishing plus writers' shares. Today, we changed our principle and created a new percentage that goes to the promoter, that is to a cost for the promoter, that is not per view, but that is a percentage of the budget of the live stream. And we think it's fair to have this basis of calculation, that is the amount of the budget. If the live stream costs $1,000, then this is 15% of that amount. And this goes to the creators. And then you can have the rights to distribute it and to broadcast it on any website in the world and on all social networks.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that, you know, it will be some time, Morgan, before, you know, Capasso, for example, may have it sorted, but perhaps that's, you know, that's another argument for considering multiple affiliations for your writers, one in their territory, but then perhaps one for the rest of the world. I can advocate SACEM as a wonderful option for Africa, for example, for people from other countries. But of course, there are many very fully operational ones. And if you feel that your artist, that this is the main activity, then you may want to consider who is already ahead of the game in terms of having an infrastructure in place for this very common but new way of you know, generating.
We're losing you.
It's
going lower and lower. But I think I got the gist. Yeah,
I don't know what to do.
I agree. I think the rule book hasn't yet been written, and it will come through time because this is a very brand new space for everyone. It's just, it's like monitoring a pub up the road that doesn't have a license. Like, how will you ever know that there's a closed corporate function? It's so hard to police, but yeah.
Can you,
if you can, territory.
Yeah, can you hear me now? All right, because I hope you can. Yeah, because what I would say is that, you know, there are many parts within the whole you know, remuneration system for publishing royalties that don't yet work functioning, and you can work functionally, and you can lose a lot of sleep trying to chase something that's not available yet and leave a lot on the table which is available. So, you know, keep doing what you're doing to try to improve the situation, but just look at what's in front of you as being possible to collect and how you can collect it and put your energy there, because the world will catch up. I mean, if I just think about, like, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years ago when Netflix was, I was working for clients with Netflix airs, and then they'd say, hey, you know, I think I worked for a publisher who was looking after House of Cards, right? It was huge at that time. They're saying, well, when am I going to get some money from Netflix? And then, you know, one by one, like a domino, the European societies to begin with were beginning to put licenses in place to to pay for Netflix, and thank goodness they did, because now Netflix is very common everywhere, and money is coming. So it will catch up. You could put Netflix now where you see TikTok and Facebook and all the others that are catching up. So that's more of a general publishing discussion. Are there any more discussions or additions about anyone's experiences about their own territories and the difficulties or challenges faced before we say goodbye, or before my microphone decides to completely stop working? Yeah, anything else? No? Oh, Eros, yeah.
Yeah, I would be looking to contact Habib after this and see the opportunity if he could come over and start thinking if we can create something new in Kosovo, like find a new strategy on how to enforce a new law to the government, how to create a bigger PRO, and how to see the opportunity on looking over to control the music industry in the whole Balkans region, because we are really known for big artists who has just gone to US and UK. A few to mention from my city, Dua Lipa, Rita Ora, Bebe Reja, Ava Max, lots.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yes, I'd be happy.
There's no stopping Habib, he'll go anywhere. No. Oh, well, thank you all. You know, it's been a pleasure to speak to everyone. I'm sorry again for my microphone issues. I haven't had any all day, or I would have got a new one. You can't hear me now.
we could just about hear you, Mandy.
Niall, finish for me.
Sure. I think I think on that note, thanks so much for all the panelists for coming. Really appreciate your time. I know you're in all different sorts of time codes and time zones, so I really appreciate you taking the time out. Just to let you all know, I will be putting up the recording probably tonight or tomorrow, so keep an eye on the community wall for that if you want to, you know, come back in and listen to Mandy's microphone malfunction for another couple of hours, or you want to take up some nuggets of information from the panelists. And beyond that, again, thanks for everyone coming in. We will be curating much more sessions like this as well, so just keep an eye on the community wall for more updates. Otherwise, thank you all and have a lovely evening.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Enjoy
Thanks.
the rest of the day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.